This is how the Romans used to cut tesserae. The traditional tools that the Romans used to cut tesserae to the appropriate size are the tagliadera and the martellina. The blow must be strong and sharp so that the stone breaks on the first impact. Generally, tesserae are made from very compact marbles and limestones to ensure a straight cut. The colors are the natural hues of the local material. Nowadays, the tessera cutting machine has been introduced. Without altering the work's result, the eccentric machine has some advantages, such as greater speed, precision in the cut, and above all, less risk of hitting your fingers. Considering that the tesserae in the Roman mosaics of Complutum usually measure between 8 and 9 millimeters, we can calculate that approximately more than 10,000 tesserae will be needed for each square meter of work. When the mosaicist has prepared enough tesserae for a section of the mosaic, they begin the patient process of placing them. This mortar is a mixture of lime and marble dust. The lime must be very pasty, meaning it must have been in water for at least 2 or 3 years. The main characteristic of the putty prepared by our friend, the artisan, is that it must set slowly so that he can work for 4 or 5 hours without it drying out. When the mortar is ready, it is applied to a small part of the floor, which in Roman times was called rudus, smoothing it as much as possible so that all the tesserae remain level. It is advisable to apply it 1.5 or 2 centimeters thick if necessary, because the thicker the mortar, the longer it takes to harden. We are going to lower the paper onto the mixture we have spread. We lower it and we are going to gently press our hand over it so that the ink that we use to mark this gets imprinted here in the mixture. Here you can see that the fundamental lines we have are what will work as a guide. And here on this mixture, we will start placing the tesserae. For this, it is always advisable to spray the marble with water, as it is a porous material, and it can, and it does, absorb the water in the mixture. The mosaicist always keeps the tagliadera nearby to adjust the size of the tesserae according to the needs of the design at that moment. And now we will introduce this other tone, a grey tone, to begin composing the dolphin. There are some tesserae that always border the figure. After that, the rest doesn't matter, and you can arrange them in any direction because for the mosaic, the movement and rhythm of the tesserae are fundamental. It doesn't have to come out with great perfection, because then it would lose that charm and intention that the mosaic has. But they should all maintain approximately the same size. The mosaicist places the tesserae on the fresh mortar, which allows for corrections in case of mistakes. This is so that the tesserae are as level as possible, so that as this will be a floor, we can polish it later without much difficulty. As the mosaic progresses, José prepares the mortar, spreads it on the pavement, and transfers the drawing to mark the linear references needed in his work. Then, one by one, he places the tesserae with the rough side facing down. When each section of the mosaic is finished, and before the putty hardens, the artisan levels the surface of the tesserae with a board. The smaller the mineral fragments, the higher the definition of the drawing. When the scenes in the mosaic are figurative, the artisan pays special attention when placing the tesserae to ensure that the color marked on the paper matches the material's color. However, he improvises the color tones depending on the veins offered by the marble. Stone materials have a very limited color range, between 50 and 70 shades. Throughout history, mosaicists have used glass paste or enamel to expand their chromatic possibilities. Naturally, many days of work are needed before a mosaic is finished. Once the tesserae are fixed to the base, the mosaicist polishes the surface with a fine-grained abrasive stone. To avoid scratching the tesserae, he passes the stone in a circular motion and then cleans the residue with a sponge. Roman mosaics are usually floor mosaics, and the motifs of those found in Complutum are very varied. Generally, the central part called emblemata represents mythological themes based on the Odyssey and the Iliad. The mosaic in the triclinium of the House of Bacchus is part of a large ensemble found in Alcalá de Henares, where Bacchus is seen with his entourage of the satyr, the siren, and the Maenad, who were his three companions. The work carried out by the young mosaicists at the Archaeology and Rehabilitation School workshop in Alcalá de Henares has paid off. The secrets of the mosaic art transmitted by José Vicente Luna have been captured in almost identical replicas of those mosaics that decorated the Roman villas of Complutum. 1700 years ago, there was already a mosaic workshop in Complutum working with these same methods.